Why don't books for grown-ups come with pictures? I would totally read way more often. Welcome back. We're going to talk about stories today. I'm sure that those of you with teenagers miss the years when your kids wanted you to read them stories at night. As for me, I know the years will pass quickly, but for now, I get to enjoy reading to my daughter at bedtime. It's something I look forward to the whole day. It's the point for me in which the day starts to settle down. It's the time she tends to pay attention to me the most. I think we're all drawn to story time. I think we learn best from stories. And for the next few weeks, we're going to talk here in the video blog about stories, addressing the stories that we enjoy, our own stories, our life, and God's story, and figuring out how all of these things blend together and how all of these things can help us in our roles as parents and mentors of young people. Our friend, personal friend, Michelle Maiden, has painted 3 rooms for us in our houses: Addie's nursery in our old house, and her bedroom upstairs, and her playroom downstairs in this house. And what you see behind me is a portion of the mural in her playroom, and I'll show you the whole thing at the very end because I really love it. But for this room we had a very specific idea in mind, and Michelle did a great job of making that come to life. We wanted to have characters from all her favorite stories mixing and mingling throughout the mural and coming out of this book that you see behind me with the familiar words of Once Upon a Time. It's a shame we stop reading picture books at a certain age, because right about the time we become a teenager, and especially when we become an adult, we would really be able to appreciate the depth of the stories and the lessons that are hidden beneath these entertaining tales for children. There is great truth in stories. Jesus knew this when he taught, not in outline form like you would get in a business meeting or perhaps a sermon, but in stories or parables that the people could relate to. He knew that about our nature as humans. Tell a story and you'll have our attention. Teenagers are being exposed to some of the great literature of the world through their school classrooms. I remember very well having some great experiences when I was in high school, working through my thoughts after reading books like Ralph Ellison's The Invisible Man, or Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, or William Golding's Lord of the Flies. These are 3 big examples that stand out to me when I look back on my years in high school. And then there's that other kind of reading that teenagers do, the kind that they're not forced to do, reading for fun. These books help them grow in wisdom as well. Some of the richest stories have come through the young adult section in the past years, and I don't mean just for young adults. Stuff like Harry Potter, Twilight, The Hunger Games. These are books with very rich stories and wisdom that can be conveyed to people of all ages. I'm sure there are plenty of others that you can think of that your children have read. But how can we experience these kinds of stories alongside our teenagers? We don't sit in bed with them and read them these stories, or even listen to them read the stories at night. But we can still be involved in their experiences of these stories. The stories that mean the most to them, the stories that they would be willing to talk about. And it doesn't even have to be books. Maybe their favorite stories come in movie form right here. Or maybe they come through television shows, or maybe even through the songs that they're listening to. Storytelling is everywhere in our culture. And maybe they even do still have books with pictures. Comic books. There's lots of those out there as well. My challenge for you this week then is to strike up a conversation with someone, your teenager or someone else, about their favorite story. It could be your spouse, your younger children, your friends, your co-workers, someone in your Sunday school class, someone in your youth group, but discover what it is that draws them to these stories and why. There's so much to be discovered about the world around us through the stories that we experience, and there's much to be discovered about each other when we converse about the stories that are meaningful, the stories that we love. We're going to continue this story theme in the coming weeks. We'll talk about the stories of our families, the tales that were passed on to us from our parents, from our grandparents. We'll talk about the stories of the Bible and the way Jesus taught in story form, and we'll find our own place within the greater narrative of God's big story. There's so much to come, so stick around. And now, let me show you that mural.